This week we're looking at the best shots from the English Open, which included a surprising number of shots from both Ronnie and Judd. But as usual, we're still trying to find out which of these shots is best by recreating them as accurately as possible and then playing them in the fewest possible attempts. But we begin with an exhausted Mark Selby, who battled hard the previous week to the British Open final, only to lose out to Mark Williams 10-7. To catch up, he then had to play 2 games on the same day, and then lost out in this second one to Martin O'Donnell. He played this good shot in the middle of it though, and I was pretty happy to get it on my first attempt. This excellent long red from Ronnie shows how hard he was competing in this tournament, but it wasn't enough to overcome an informed Zhang over a shorter format of only 7 frames. Even though Ronnie was knocking in great long shots like this one, which needed a lot of speed, I was surprised when I looked at the angle how hard I'd have to hit it. My first attempt was fairly good, but my second was nowhere near it, so I was a bit surprised I actually got it with my third. I was really pleased with this because it's a difficult shot. Judd played this ridiculous double on the yellow as an exhibition shot after he won the tournament that saw him come back from 2 impossible situations, both in the final and the semi-final. And we'll get to the key shot that started his comeback in the semi-final later, but for now I've got to try and get this exhibition shot, and I was nowhere near it to start off with, as you have to miss the double kiss by quite a long way to get anywhere near the pocket. I got nowhere near it on my first 4 attempts, and the first one that got close went in. I was pretty lucky, I guess, in this case. Judd Trump wasn't the only one pulling off exhibition shots. Look at this one from Ronnie after his win against Jiahui. It looked like he'd run out of position, but Ronnie found an answer. To be truthful, this is a relatively simple cross double, but for whatever reason I had a massive amount of difficulty with this one. And to start off with, I couldn't even hit the red in the right direction. I think this was because the cue ball was so close to the cushion, which made the shot a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be. However, Ronnie was also trying to get into the reds off this shot, which he slightly failed to do. It took me way too long to get this one, but which is the cheekiest double, this or the Judd Trump shot? Cue the music. Ronnie's shot looked great and gets him 4 chilies, but Judd's is one of the best we've seen this year, and it gets him 5 chilies, and he's this week's winner. Ronnie wasn't done with the break there though, as on the very next shot he manages to pot this outlandish yellow and finally get into the reds. Playing these shots one after another is just unbelievable. And it should also be a lot harder to play than his previous shot, but for some reason I just found the angle straight away. I just didn't have enough left hand side on the cue ball, but on my second attempt I got that right as well, which is pretty good for such a tough shot. Zhang finding his way out of a really awkward position in the final now, where it didn't look possible to get on a colour. He had a really impressive week, beating a lot of good players along the way. He just lost out to a Judd Trump comeback in the end. This is one of those shots that looks easy, but you have to power the red into the middle pocket, which means you can miss. And even if you do get it right, there's no guarantee you'll get the cue ball around the angles and back for the red. 3 attempts was really good for this one, I think. Jiahui's next with an impressive frame-winning red down the cushion. He competed really well in this match, but in the end Ronnie was just too good for him. This is the shot I think I was struggling with the most during this video, and the reason for that is the right hand side and backspin I was having to use to return the cue ball to bulk made me feel like the red was closer to the cushion than what it was, so I kept overcutting it by quite a lot. And it took me the first 4 or 5 attempts to work out I was doing this, but once I realised what I was doing, it was still an incredibly tough pot from this position. But at the speed I was having to play it at, I just wasn't seeing the angle right. I probably should have got this a little bit quicker than what I did, but it is a really challenging shot. So in the end I was just happy to see it go in, even if I didn't quite screw back far enough. Now to the standard Judd Trump exhibition shot where you pot the black and bash the cue ball all the way around the angles for position on the yellow. I wasn't even going to play this one, except for the fact that the white was very straight on the black, so I thought that might make it more challenging and I decided to give it a go. This needs less backspin and left-hand side than what you'd think. It mostly requires power. However, the difficulty is getting it around the table far enough. On my first few attempts, I simply didn't play the shot hard enough. So my table not being fast enough caused a bit of a problem with this one. But the other thing I was having trouble with was the amount the cue ball slides off the cushion. Even when I play it right around 5 cushions, it squares up a lot off the 5th one, meaning I had to try and get really close to the green to avoid this, but even when I did that, it still came off the 5th cushion a bit square and ended up a bit close to the blue, but that was about as good as I could get. Jimmy Robertson does really well not just to pot the blue and get the green into play, but also to finish on the yellow at the same time. However, nobody in the crowd seemed to care, and that's when his opponent, Alan Taylor himself, started applauding, and then said afterwards that nobody else in the crowd was clapping, which is highly likely because they were on the main table, and because the frame and match were essentially over, there was a good chance that no one was really watching them. And I was really struggling to get the perfect cannon to push the green over the middle pocket. It was really difficult to get the weight right, as you also needed to strike the side cushion perfectly just before the green to get the white out onto the yellow. It took me quite a while, but I eventually got the right line for this shot, but that meant that I was pushing the green way past the pocket, so I had to try again and try and get the speed right at the same time. This one was really tough, but I was pretty happy with where they ended up in the end. Moody finds a plant that doesn't really look that missable, but he plays it in a really entertaining way. So I wanted to have a go and see if I could get it on my first attempt. I was looking to get the plant, crash into the reds and hopefully finish on a colour, but unfortunately I ran through the pack and ended up on nothing, but I didn't really want to put everything back again. Eliot Slesssor is showing some impressive cue power now as he pots this red and screws all the way back down the table for position. In theory, this one's fairly simple. You just hit it straight and you pot it, but you also need to get a huge amount of backspin on the cue ball at the same time, which means a lot of power, so I was really happy to get it on my first attempt, even though I was using a clean cue ball. Judd Trump looked completely out of the tournament in this frame of the semi-final, but not only did he manage to make the clearance, he played this impressive cannon on the brown along the way. This was absolutely essential to his comeback against John Higgins, and as I discovered, getting the cannon on the brown was incredibly difficult. That's because it was just between a stun shot and a screw shot, so it was very easy to put too much backspin on the cue ball or way too little. Eventually, when I did get the cannon, I missed the pot, so I had to have a few more goes at it. But I was really surprised with this one, just how difficult it was to even get the cannon. So when I got it and I knocked it towards the pocket, I was really happy with it. We have yet another Judd Trump shot coming up next after we find Corey from Cologne, Germany, which is there. This shot's really good but difficult to see because unfortunately they were using this wide angle to show Judd playing the shot, so we're going to have to deal with a couple of replays to see exactly what happened. But Judd played a really nice pot on the red and screwed all the way back for a bulk colour. Given the fact that I potted a few of these already, I was quite confident with this one. However, on my first attempt I missed it by quite a way, and I hadn't really got these as quite as lined up as I thought I had. That said, I made the adjustment pretty quickly and my third attempt went straight in. I got back to bulk, however I missed the cannon on the green. Jackson Page is having to play a swerve around the blue to even get a chance against Ronnie. It isn't obvious just how much he has to swerve around the blue from this angle, but the replay shows he has to swerve around about a third of it, and this is going to be tough because the cue ball's incredibly close to the top cushion, which is why on my first attempt I tried to give it a lot of side spin and actually hit it a bit too soft and swerved too much. So on my second attempt I just hit it a bit harder and it went in, which is pretty good for a shot like this. So to the results, I'm giving third place to Judd with this double on the yellow. One of the best shots certainly, but the tournament was already over at the time. Second place goes to Ronnie with a yellow pack split. I know this game was over as well, but I thought it was slightly better than Judd's double. But first place goes to Judd's shot on the green from the John Higgins clearance. If this had gone wrong, Judd would probably have never made it out of the semi-final. So after all that, what do we learn? Well, Judd seems to be the player to beat right now and will take some stopping in tournaments for the rest of the season. No matter how well he plays, people don't want to watch Jimmy Robertson. Getting to the final of a tournament limits your chances in the next one, and in tournaments where players don't wear a waistcoat, they have to dress all in black, and brown isn't an alternative to that. If you want to see more snooker shot recreations from previous tournaments, then have a look at these two videos. And remember, don't just watch, play, and make the commitment to becoming a better player by subscribing to the channel and visit the website. See you later!